All right. Hey, the bromance continues. Welcome, Steve. We're doing it again, looking at kitchens from Houzz.com, giving our opinions and our take on some of the features of these kitchens so that if you're going to renovate your kitchen or you're planning on purchasing appliances in the near future, hopefully we'll provide some insight on what we think about these kitchens so that you can take some of that and apply it to your specific needs in your renovation or your home. I'd like to say hi to Steve because this is really fun. Thanks to this team at Yale for making this possible. We're live again. Steve, say hello and let's jump into this.
It's good to be back with you, Mark. One of your commenters says the international bromance that the world needs right now between Canada and US. So let's look at some kitchens.
Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. So this is a part two of a video that we did a few weeks ago. There was a live stream. We looked at 5 kitchens, or 6 kitchens rather, I think, in that video. There's more kitchens coming up. These are the top 10 kitchens from Houzz, I think from last year. And so if you're wondering about those other kitchens, you can go back and look at that previous live stream.
Sure.
And that would be awesome. So this kitchen here is very beautiful. I'll just give you my takes on it. I have a few notes on these, but this is a very classic L-shaped kitchen. And I quite like this one. It's very symmetrical, has a lot of features that I personally like. I like the colors. I like the tone that they use for the island. And overall, like just looking at this is very beautiful. Now, there's a couple of things I want to point out. And I want to start with lighting. And I know, Steve, we always kind of look to the ceiling to see what's happening there for lighting. And although this kitchen isn't perfect in terms of lighting, I do want to mention that these pendants are the kind that I like to look for when I'm doing a pendant over an island, because that allows that beam to really be concentrated on that work surface. So when you're planning your kitchen and you're thinking about adding pendants for your area over that, you want to consider, do you want that light to be diffused out into the room, or are you looking for more light that's directed onto that counter surface? In this kitchen, obviously, they went for the more direct countertop lighting, although they didn't add enough lighting everywhere else. There goes my camera. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't mind the pendants. I like my light diffused, to be honest with you. I just think that if you directed it maybe too glary, of course you can always use good switch gear. But the nice thing about these pendants is if you look at the top, the light goes up to the top, so you're lighting the ceiling as well, which is a really nice effect in a kitchen. It's funny, we're going to talk mostly about lighting. I mean, the only place you really need to light your house these days is for a task is bathroom, kitchen.
Right.
And I don't see any kind of like recessed here. I think that I think that's a problem. Just 4 or 5 recessed lights, put nice little even lighting, task lighting where you need it. Hopefully they probably put under cabinet lighting in as well. And it's so inexpensive to do. I mean, we saw recess when they first came out at $250 a can, a recess fixture. Oh. It's at $10, $12 for as good a light. And really, I know I'm supposed to be an appliance guy, but we sold lighting for like 95 years. And I used to do lighting plans. And I just shake my head at all these designs. I like this kitchen because it's not white. It's different. Rattan's not my favorite, but I like that the island's a different texture than the than the cabinets. And we'll look at the appliances for a second, but I think each one of these has a lighting issue, I think, that we've seen. So
yeah, so far the lighting's not been not a 10 out of 10 for sure. In terms of this kitchen overall, just as a design, one, an L shape is a great layout choice for a kitchen. This particular kitchen, the fridge is somewhere else. And this is one of my favorite layouts. I think I mentioned on the previous live stream as well. I just call it a galley with a twist just for fun. But it's where there's a door splitting that L shape. You have an island. You have another wall of cabinetry. There's a lot of flow through this kitchen, which I think makes workability really good. Now, I really like the range wall. I like that it's symmetrical. I like the band across the range hood cover. I think that's smart, just bringing in some of the texture from the island. Sometimes when you see these L shapes on an end like this, they try to balance the cabinets on either side of that range, and sometimes it can look a little off if those doors are like perfectly symmetrical. So I think this is a really good way to do it. And when you consider some symmetry on the top versus symmetry on the bottom, when you look at this kitchen, you don't even know what's on the bottom because there's an island in the way. So you can definitely see that there's symmetry. Your eye is drawn to that. It looks like it was well thought out. And then whatever they decide to do on the bottom, hopefully it's for function and not just for looks.
Just a question, you know, I'm here for the appliance side, obviously, but would you, I mean, in all the 2 kitchens I've done in the last 7 years, and the kitchen that my cousin does, and he's got way better taste than me. I think everybody that knows the both of us will say that. Um, would you put this kitchen like at the end, and instead of having a formal space, open that up on the other side? Of course, we don't know what's on the right hand side there, but I mean, formal dining. What's your stance on that, you think?
It looks like it looks like there's dining or there's light coming in next to that
Yeah.
appliance garage. So there could be, and maybe we'll see it in another picture. I'm not actually sure. Um, but is there? It doesn't really show. Yeah. So
Yeah, you got like a
yeah,
little,
okay. There's a
you got a
table there.
little
So
table.
like breakfast nook happening, which is nice. So that has to do with like whether or not you want to have that formal dining separate room. This is not really an open concept kitchen because although it's
Mhm.
open to this seating area, this would be more of a closed off type of kitchen. And there's a real push towards doing that now in homes, just having a formal dining. So it sort of
Hmm.
depends on what you're looking for in a home layout because that's going to change the location of the kitchen. And then do you want it attached to a big dining room and then another living area? Some people are kind of veering back to that more closed
Hmm.
off kitchen. So it kind of depends. I mean, I highly doubt they even ever use the dining. They probably just use that all the time in their island.
Yeah, I like it all open, but
Yeah.
I guess
So
this.
these are inset cabinets as well. So super high end in terms of just probably what these are worth in terms of a cost, but also very nice. Inset is certainly a very trendy option for people these days, and it looks beautiful. Um, what I don't like particularly is to the left of that stove. Now I don't know if we can see it on any of these. Not really. You can kind of see it there. So they have this kind of narrow. I'm not sure what it is. If it's spice, if it's trays. Um, to me, it would have been better if that was just a bigger, wider drawer bank. But it speaks to this point that when you're designing a kitchen, you just want to be intentional with every decision that you make.
Hmm.
And so I'm assuming that that's an intentional choice that they put in there, and not just a wide drawer bank for the sake of it. So making sure that you understand exactly what's going in each part of your kitchen when you're doing the planning stages, instead of a designer just showing you this narrow cabinet going, this looks cool, right? And you're like, yeah, I don't know what it's used for. I guess I'll figure it out when I move in. You're better off to be very intentional, and I'm assuming that's what they did with this kitchen.
I would put the spice rack right next to the stove.
I'd put it in a drawer.
Would you? You put your
Yeah,
spices in a drawer. They don't kind of like, you don't pull them out.
yeah, they're all in a drawer. They're on a tier. They're sitting at about a 22.5-degree angle, I guess. They're just all sitting in there. You can see
Ah,
everything. All the labels are in front of you. You don't have to look down on lids. Um, that's by far the best way to, I
hmm.
mean, in my opinion, the best way to do spices. With this, you're just pulling out this narrow thing with just lids, and you got to pick everything up. So I prefer the drawer option over this, if that's what that is.
Yeah, that small cabinet looks like a spice drawer.
So let's look at the win. I think there's a picture of the window wall. Let's switch to that one. Yeah.
No.
Um, so again, nice and symmetrical around that window. I see a cabinet there without any drawer bank underneath it. I'm just hoping that there's some pullouts at least in that space, which would be helpful. And I see a panel dishwasher behind the island. I think it's a panel dishwasher.
It is.
Um, I would assume it is by the looks of the gap that's around it. They brought the wall cabinets around that window pretty tight, but the window's wide enough to handle that. So anytime you have a window in your kitchen that's like narrower, you just want to be careful of how close you're bringing in wall cabinets to that space, and making sure that if it is kind of narrow, that you can allow some breathing room. Even if it's at the expense of a little bit of storage space on either side, it really does help to open up that space quite a bit. Um, but this is pretty decent for sure. Talk to me about this range. What is this?
That is a Miele all gas uh, professional range, which it's pretty good in all gas. For some reason, manufacturers put all their best features on a they put the best features on their dual fuel, but Miele does a pretty good job in all gas. It's self-cleaning, which is an anomaly. Wolf and Thermador, um, the Thermador Pro Harmony is, and Blue Star is, and so this one is. You can leave the racks in. Um, it's 19,000 BTU burners, three of them, which is pretty good. It's got the infrared griddle. Infrared's a directed heat, so that's pretty good. It's a pretty underrated range. Stylistically, though, it's mostly modern. And that may or may not fit in people's worldview, depending on how they see their kitchens. But I like the Miele range. The dual fuel, a dual fuel will give you, their master touch controls, and so it has steam in it, so you can bake bread and
Cool.
really hardened crust. It's a really nice oven. In terms of dishwasher, I can only assume it's a Miele. But whatever dishwasher you put behind a panel, make sure it's European type, so it blends in with the cabinets. It doesn't stick out. It's a huge difference. A lot of American brands will stick out, so you want that in a brand. I like Miele. They actually dry because they have ports underneath, so the air goes in, so hot and cold air mix and get dissipated as water. I like that dishwasher. I like the new Bosch. The newer, I should say, Bosch dishwashers. They have crystal dry, which dries plastic really well. But it's a nice selection. I even think they did their hood well. If you look at the hood, it matches. It matches the. It's 24 inches deep. That matches the burners, so the smoke doesn't go into your newly designed LED kitchen. I'm sorry, LEED certified kitchen. So what happens is why venting has become more important, because the burners are much harder than they were, and your house is a lot more energy efficient. So all that bad air will stay in your house a lot longer. So you want that out, and I think that vent will do it as long as it goes straight up, and as long as the motor is somewhere in the 900 to 1200 CFM.
Interesting. Cool. So back to the dishwasher for a minute. American dishwashers stick out, and then you put a panel on it.
Yeah,
Why would they do that? Why would they be designed that way?
I don't know.
Interesting.
KitchenAid just redesigned theirs to be counter depth this year. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sorry, integrated depth this year. It's $1,799 though, so it's a brand new dishwasher. GE still hasn't done it.
Interesting. Okay.
So you want a European type for that typically, or the new
All right.
KitchenAid. You'll spend too much money for it. So
Well, that's very interesting. Where do you think the microwave is in this kitchen? I don't think we can
um,
see it anywhere. Is
you
it in
think
the
it's a
front of the
drawer
island?
on the island? I don't see it.
Maybe. Do we have
Or
another
maybe
picture of the island?
they don't have a microwave. Nope, they don't.
Unless it's on this side of the microwave, we can't see it. Or there's a whole other wall of this kitchen we don't know. There's a fridge somewhere, so it could be over there.
Yeah. Typically they'll put a microwave drawer in this thing, and we talked about that before. Microwave drawers are all made by Sharp. They're $1,200. They're kind of expensive, but it allows you to put a microwave wherever you want.
Hmm.
Back in my day, a long time ago, we used to buy a microwave, put a trim kit around it, but it
Yeah.
looks a little bit dated. Or you could put a microwave, say, over a wall oven if you want, and match the brands and match the types that way.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah,
want
well,
to see
we mentioned off camera, off the live stream, and you mentioned that just your microwave should be where you need it,
Yep.
and that's really good advice when you're planning your kitchen. Is just making sure that microwave is in the most usable place for you, and not just putting it somewhere where the designer says it should go. Really walk through that use case for you to make sure it is exactly where you need it. And if that happens to be just on your countertop, then so be it. There's nothing wrong with that either, if it's the most usable and it fits into what you're doing. But I do love the drawer microwave idea, and my concern was, how sturdy they are and how given are they to be having to be replaced. But according to you, they're pretty decent, right?
Yeah, we repair all this. We repair microwaves and all the other appliances, and Microwave's reliable because they're pretty much the same as they've always been. Electronics and magnetron tubes. We used to get comments that, on our YouTube channel that microwaves, the draw microwaves were more susceptible to arcing or whatever it was. But we don't find that to be the case with the ones we sold. So maybe it's an install problem, but I don't see it in the vast numbers that we've sold over the years. So.
Couple comments I just want to point out. Matthew, hey Matthew, nice to see you on here. Problem with spice racks in the drawers, you have to have standardized the container size, which most people don't want to do. So that's a good point. So when you're thinking about going down the road of adding spices to your drawers, one, it's either you're buying spices that are all in the same size bottles, which is not that challenging to do because a lot of them are pretty standardized already, or you have to do what he's saying and decant these into other containers. Some people like doing that, some people don't. So as long as you are aware of what's involved in that, then you want to just consider that as well. But good point too. If you're not into if you have all different size bottles, of course, then you have to come up with a different solution. But if all the containers are relatively the same size, then the drawer really does work well. And then Yakira, I think, talks about the narrow drawer, but the narrow drawer we're talking about next to that fridge could be for cutting boards as well, or next to the range. And it very well could be as a cutting board. If you're doing a narrow cabinet for cutting boards, it's really a great idea to have it that it's a pullout at least, so that you're not kind of digging around into that space. But also above a fridge is a really great place for cutting boards. And unless you have, some kind of Sub-Zero that's 84 inches high or something like that. If you have a standard, 70-inch high fridge, having your cutting boards right there, you can kind of just grab the front of them quite easily is a good way to do it. So keep the comments coming. If you have questions, definitely ask them as we look at these kitchens. Anything else you want to say about this, Steve? Anything else we need to cover?
I think from an appliance standpoint, certainly it's very likable. The Miele is it's really, really well engineered appliances.
Okay.
I like the hood. I don't know where the fridge is. Probably where the microwave
wish we could see that.
So I can assume it's probably the Miele columns, which are made in the same plant as Thermador columns, and they're just fine.
Okay.
I like it from an appliance standpoint. I like the kitchen from, although this is not why I'm here. I like the way they put in a few different tones.
Sure.
As well. I think the lighting is going to be a challenge for them. But
yeah. Now, what do you think about the appliance garage? What's your take on that as a cabinet, as a feature in a kitchen?
The appliance garage, I love mine. I mean, think about it. I mean, you have a now food processor, a blender. What else? What is it? Well, I have a smoker, but that goes on top.
Air fryer.
Air fryer. You've got all these. I mean, if you don't have them, stand mixers, all this stuff. I think you almost need an appliance garage in your kitchen somewhere. I like this one. I have mine at kind of in the middle. So it supports a bit, but this is fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with them in a kitchen like this where you have the counter space dedicated for what you want to use it for, and sometimes people want to include an appliance garage just because it's a nice feature. They see it in a picture like this. You want to be sure your kitchen can handle that usage of counter space being blocked off all the time, except when you open those doors. So again, just something else to be considered of when you're designing your kitchen. If it works for you, it does, but make sure you understand what you're losing by gaining an appliance garage. In this kitchen, I think it definitely works. Pocket doors and all.
You ready to go to the next one?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, this is your favorite, I think, right?
Well, there's not enough lighting here, but they're going to have a vent issue. I mean, stylistically, I mean, is it up to me? Is everybody going with some sort of tan now? Is that the new thing from what you're saying?
It is popular, yeah, for sure. But
tan and black.
Yeah,
and
black
white.
you're going to see everywhere. Yeah, this is a very popular trend for sure in kitchen colors.
Well, the vent's too
yeah,
high.
we forgot to rate the last one, Steve. Let's go back and rate it real quickly. I gave it a 4.5 star out of 5.
I'd say 4 too. I really like the appliances, but I really think they missed the boat in lighting, and I know I'm not supposed to say that.
All right, there you go. Okay. Yeah, well, this one for sure, they're missing the boat. They do have some lights in that ceiling, but not near enough.
They have two, and that's a tall ceiling too,
Yeah,
right?
10 feet probably.
You know what's really interesting? I think those are lights on the left and right side of and then you got the solid doors underneath, so there's no light that's going. Hopefully, they put some sort of under counter lighting tape where you can actually see beyond those two shelves on either side. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, the one thing what I like, let's say what I like is I like the pot filler in back. I think it's very convenient. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's nice if you're filling big pots. You don't have to move from one place to another. But the real problem here is, and this is an issue I have with those ceiling blowers, is they're too high to be effective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hoods are supposed to be 30 to 36 inch over the stove. This is well beyond that. So really, what's going to happen is some of that smoke, grease, nitrous oxide, and all this, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide is going to be diffused in your house. Um, let's see what kind of stove it is. I mean, I love the looks of it. Let's take a look here.
I wrote down that this is an old world European farmhouse vibe with a splash of Mediterranean stylings.
Yeah, yeah, I would have said Mediterranean. That
That
looks
was
like it's not a wolf. Looks like a not a thermidor. It's got a control. It looks like Gen Air.
okay.
Um,
And is that
but
where is that on the line of quality?
it's decent. We don't sell it, but it's decent.
Okay.
On the other side though, but I want to say it should be Thermador because on the other side, if you look at the fridge, that's the Thermador last year's Thermador French door
Okay.
integrated. That's a nice fridge right there. See on the right hand side there. See that French door looking thing?
Yeah.
Look beyond the faucet. Decent fridge,
Yeah.
right?
So
French door.
so I'm curious. I mean, I can tell it's a paneled fridge, but how do you know it's a Thermador paneled fridge?
Because it's a French door. Sub-Zero doesn't make it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Not in.
you only have Sub-Zero and Thermador who make paneled fridges?
Oh no, you've got Miele. Could be Miele, I guess.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Thermador sells the vast majority of the refrigerators in that style.
Okay.
Miele has it. Monogram has it. Who else? Everybody has something like it, but
Okay.
one brand sells the most. Of course, they went away from that this year. Now it's a double drawer, which
Nice.
it's got some problems to it. But I like the fridge. The stove's fine. The venting is going to be a problem. The lighting is going to be a problem. The style is fantastic. Take a look at the
Mm.
the beam ceiling. I mean, look at the furniture. Look at the stairs. This is all very well conceived. Even that little stair detail there.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if I
Yeah.
love
Beautiful.
the flooring difference between but whatever. That's not up to me.
Yeah, this is in terms of just function, again, this is another one of those galley, one wall with a another doorway that goes into maybe a walk-in pantry or another room. I really like that kind of style. This obviously is a huge focal point in this kitchen and looks marvelous. Again, like those shades are they're going to let light pass through. Obviously, they're not completely solid, but a little more light coming onto that surface. I can't tell the sink, but it definitely looks like a large single, which I always recommend for people. I think it's the most usable type of sink,
Hmm.
though yeah, it is yeah. So
Is
and
that a
interesting,
horse?
they didn't use a farmhouse sink in
Yeah.
this. Like they probably could have. Um, and they do have a pot filler. So there's certain things that you'll see in a lot of kitchens, and when you Google them, and for high end kitchens or top 10 kitchens or whatever, you see a lot of pot fillers. You see a lot of farmhouse sinks. What you don't see a lot of is plate racks, and this I'm sure is a little bit of function, but definitely more of an aesthetic choice overall, but not something we see a lot of in modern kitchens right now is plate racks. We haven't for a little while. So it's definitely a
Hmm.
design choice. I do like it. I think it looks nice. They have definitely a lot of storage in this kitchen that they can dedicate some of that space to something more open and not just having like an open shelf or something like that. But challenging to clean. Otherwise, looks pretty cool.
I would have put it behind glass and lit it up to make it a detail.
Mm, get rid of
But
the plate, like the dowels.
lighting clearly wasn't wasn't a consideration in this
Wasn't on
kitchen.
the list.
But I'll tell you, it's surprising because everything else is really really nice. I love the detail of the lighting. Um, it kind of matches everything. They tied it in together with some different sconces, although they're not going to light anything. But they got the vent wrong.
Yeah, they got the vent wrong. I mean, they went for the obvious look. Do you think they could have done away with it, or actually changed that by bringing it lower? Do you think the height of that is really what gives this kitchen the look that it has, and they
It
just
all,
they sacrificed it?
yeah. Well, you want to sacrifice um, function for aesthetics, and that's what was done here. It almost has like kind of like that Aladdin and that Aladdin kind of mosque-y look to it, doesn't it?
It sort of
Um,
does. The Mediterranean look, yeah.
it's got the Mediterranean look, but I wouldn't do that if they cook in that range, to be honest. But do
Nice.
they
Some
cook in that range?
open shelves.
So it's clearly set up. No one's putting pictures behind that range typically, or flowers. But but yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I sometimes wonder if this is for the picture.
I think
We've
so.
seen in the last video we had the bowl of lemons moving around the kitchen in different pictures. Clearly that's probably something that's happening here. But I mean, the shelf there, I'm sure that other picture probably belongs on the shelf. I'm curious if in the other picture that it's moved. No, it's there. So that would have been funny though. Be careful with open shelves, especially around your range. You know what's going to happen there with grease and just dust and grossness. So you got to think about cleanability and whether or not you want to curate that shelf. This kitchen overall seems like a more curated vibe,
Hmm.
anyways. So I think it works with this kitchen, um, but just something to be aware of, obviously.
I wonder if
Well,
that
what do you
bread's
rate this kitchen, Steve? What do you think?
um love the style. The appliances are okay. Um, I'd say 3.2.
Oh man, my rating system's way off kilter because I rate everything way higher than you.
Well, the vent won't work, so
All right, I'll give it a 3.8.
well, we're eating different things. I wonder if that bread's real. What do you think?
If the what's real?
The bread on the side there.
Oh, I think it's real. Yeah, yeah, it's probably real. That'd be hilarious if it wasn't real. They just have some fake bread hanging around for picture's sake. They moved it though in this picture. I
Yeah.
like that.
So you're
It
clearly
looks like
thinking
they
about it.
have. Is that a spray, or is that a dedicated?
That's a spray on the right hand side there.
Yeah, it's a spray, right? Interesting. That's not something you see a lot of either. A separate spray. And normally, like they're just attached to the faucet. Oh yeah, there it is. There.
I like it. I like the spray just detached because it doesn't because you get like that nice faucet. You put a
Hmm.
spray on it, it becomes a lot like thicker, right?
Yeah,
If you're talking about style, which I
yeah,
shouldn't
it's
be.
very nice.
I'm here for
Not something you
appliances.
see a lot of. Matthew has a
We have a
question
question
about
on we have a question
air
on air
fryers.
fryers.
Let's do
No,
it.
the answer to that is no. I don't think. I think when you look at air fryers, we had a chain here called Be Good, and they had these huge air fryer machines, but it's still a small unit. Um, it's a small enough unit so air can flow over it, right? And that's where you're going to get the fry. On a big like on the LG or GE or any of those, yeah, it's just too big to move that kind of air on it. Now we sold a induction to my next door neighbor when I lived in Jamaica Plain, and she puts on air fry, and it makes a whole constellation of friedness. Like so, you can have burnt, or you can have kind
Raw.
of semi raw potato chip like French fries or whatever she calls them.
Okay.
It's still a French fry, so it's not bad, but it's not going to be like your Cuisinart. I'm sorry.
Okay. I have the Drew Barrymore model from Walmart. It's lovely. All right, so 3.8, 3.2, not bad. Not the best kitchen though, in terms of lighting. And all right, we're moving on to this one. This is a little more eclectic in terms of design style than we've seen thus far. And yeah, overall, it kind of grabs your attention, which I do like the fact that it grabs your attention. Talk to me about that range though. What is that? That looks amazing.
Yeah, this is very different because we don't sell cafe this way. We sell cafe in their regular 30-inch double ovens or induction units. This is their pro-like unit. It's available in 6 burners. They have it in black. One thing that they may have done is they've got 6 handle styles. Now they went with stainless, which is safe, but they've got like all kinds of brass, um, polished, unfinished copper. I think this would look great, black and copper, at least in pictures it does. But Cafe is a nice, lower priced alternative to certainly their monogram line, which is a less expensive version of like the Sub-Zero Wolf type. So if you're looking to save $1, this isn't a bad way of going. But you don't have, the tremendous amount of options in the cafe line. I think you've got one of each. But I do think this is unique and a unique way to save some money. Now you can buy LG and LG Studio and get get pro looking appliances for less. There's different brands that do this, but I was really interested because Cafe is one of the only ones that do it in color. Now, when you think color, I mean, Blue Star does it with 1,000 colors. Cafe, I think, has got three, and they're introducing 2 more. So, but
Interesting.
I thought it was very interesting. What's interesting is the way they put everything. Um, you have the wine cooler on the right hand side, refrigerator. That's the Advantium speed oven that cooks by light there, right next to the fridge. Yep, right there. Um, and that does any number of things. You can cook microwave, you can cook oven, you can cook combination. Um, Very decent. This is an unusual. I like this kitchen even stylistically, although they too, like the others, got the lighting wrong. But from an appliance standpoint, I think this is very intriguing. Nothing says you've got to spend 40, $50,000 of brand names to get that kind of a decent appliance that you want. You can spend less in a lot of lines, cafe amongst them, and still get a very nice looking kitchen.
Hmm. Yeah, another shaker cabinet style and 3 tones, which is different. We don't see a lot of 3 tones in a kitchen. If we go back to the previous photo, the photo number 1, definitely more of an asymmetrical vibe to this kitchen. And it doesn't mean that there's my camera again. It doesn't mean that if it's asymmetrical, it's going to look odd. This is a very nice looking kitchen. I think it's well designed. Let's look at the island for a second. The island, if we go back to that first picture,
Wait a minute, where's the sink in this kitchen?
the sink, it's right where our it's on the bottom here. You can't really see it.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah,
I
it's I think this is a peninsula. It must be on that peninsula.
where you and I depart is I think the sink should be near the stove top.
Well, I think it is. It's right here. It's right in the
Oh, there it
bottom.
is.
Yeah,
Okay. And it looks
yeah,
like a galley style too. See that with the grids and everything?
yeah,
See the lip in the grid?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Workstation sink.
yeah, it's one of the workstations. That's another nice option for a kitchen. Do you like those galley style sinks?
Um, I do and I don't. The reason I have a little bit of an issue is one, just the cleaning of those channels. Um, Maybe that's going to be a pain for some people, and then just all the paraphernalia that comes with it. You have to have a plan for where that's going to go. Otherwise, from people who I talk to, clients that I have who have these sinks, I get really good reports about them. People
Mm,
like them. They have no issues with them. They really like them. So that would be my like just thought about thinking of it. Where I want to put all these things. I'm actually going to use all these little gadgets, and then just cleanability. But otherwise, I do think it's a good idea.
mm,
The yeah, so its location is connected to the range. I think that is important.
yeah.
Not too far away. You do want to make sure that your kitchen triangle. Of course, I don't really talk a whole lot about that, but the in terms of your range and your sink, there should be a connection with those two areas for sure. With your fridge, I'm okay if that's kind of outside that realm a little bit. And in this case, it is kind of behind the island. I like the seating in this. So with this island, just having that extended table seating is something I do see a lot of, and people are trying to incorporate into their kitchens to make their islands that dual purpose, but without just having that narrow back of an island seating. And of course, in this kitchen, because it's open, past this peninsula where we're looking in at, um, which side do you put seating on so that it makes sense. They just want all on every side, and I do like that idea because they have a lot of work surface around the sink and range, and then where the plant is there on that island, they can obviously move that and use that surface as well. So what do you think about this two-tone, three-tone color idea?
Stylistically, people should buy what they enjoy. And the nice thing about this kitchen is you can be a little bit bolder than just going all white with gray counters. I like the idea. I can't say I love it, um, but I like the idea of it, that somebody actually did it, had the guts to do it. Um,
I like, yeah. I mean, I'm happy they did something like that too.
I do too. I like the idea of it. It's not for me, but
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah,
What I don't like, I like the appliances, and if you've ever heard me say you need to get Sub-Zero Wolf to make your kitchen, this is a picture that shows you can spend less and still have something really really nice and
right.
something that's very very usable.
Yeah,
However, what I don't like about this kitchen is, where are the lights, man? Even the lights that I firmly believe that there's a decorator out there that says, hey, let's not light the kitchen. Let's just use lights as a decoration in the kitchen, like those two spot heads on the side on a solid shelf. Where's the light going from there? I mean, this is a classic missed opportunity for me. Like, you see that ceiling tray?
hmm,
I would have put some tape lighting in there. Make it like a 2700 Kelvin so it glows like yellow onto that
sure.
brown, and you leave that on in the middle of the night. You have a really nice effect. There's no recessed here on the outer side.
No.
It's just I don't know. Maybe no one's buying lights anymore.
It is
You
interesting.
like
All these kitchens that they definitely lack in that department as well. And it's one of the main questions I get when I do client like one-on-one consultations. Lighting is one of the major questions that people have for me, and looking at their plan and trying to figure out where the lights should go, and lighting suggestions. So I am surprised that these kitchens at this level haven't done that, and I'd be interested to know the reason. Like, I'm sure there must be some reason. I just can't think of what it is, but there's got to be a reason, Steve. Like, why would they not include more lighting? I don't know.
I don't know. I put lighting everywhere because it's so inexpensive to do so. It's so inexpensive. And
Yeah.
someone says, "Well, look at it; it's well lit." And I'm like, "Well, they probably bought a photographer who brings lights, right, to light a
Do you,
kitchen."
do you think that maybe pot lights have the maybe impression in a high-end kitchen that they like, because they are inexpensive, that they look cheap? Like, do you think that could be it?
I was thinking about that because all these LED lights have that kind of like white plastic trim to them. Um, like the lighting that we saw beforehand. I think the next one has it. It's got lighting in it, but yeah, like that. See, most of what people buy in LED is that trim. Now, does that look cheap? I mean, someone's giving me a
It
hard time about lighting. I'm sorry, man. You need the light. Come on. I don't even sell it. I've got no dog in this fight whatsoever. But does that look cheap to you?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it looks like I can see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look cheap to me, but maybe in a high-end kitchen it does. I don't know.
Well, you can always buy different trims,
Yeah, you can get
right?
different trims, and they don't all have to look like that. I just wondered, I'm trying to think through, like, why in the world wouldn't they add more lighting? But if we go back to that other kitchen, um, and I mean, it's very interesting like that. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity there, and I don't think adding lights to that ceiling is going to throw that off. Even there's modern lights that you can put in. Like, you can put a channel in that ceiling and have a strip of LED in that ceiling that looks very modern. Um, that even outlines the tray or anything. Like, there's lots of opportunities in the world right now for interesting lights. So
I don't know. Hey,
I want to
listen,
go back to the view though of the range. It shows the range hood and the shelves to one side. Yeah, this one here. There's this one on your left. So this is my only issue with this kitchen is the landing area to the left of the range. Um, it just
there isn't.
this doesn't look right to me. Now, did they do it to separate it from the sink? Maybe. Did they do it to line it up with the island? Maybe. But design your kitchen to be functional, and then you can actually balance that because you're going to move that range hood over. It might have something to do with the tray ceiling. There's got to be a reason for this, but I don't like it. So just consider that if you're designing a kitchen, make sure you have landing area on both sides of your range that's usable. Um, I don't think it's going to throw the look of this kitchen off by getting rid of those shelves and those little whatever kind of lights, whatever those lights are doing for you, Steve. And then just having another drawer bank on the other side, even if you had 18 inches of space there, something
Totally
other
agree.
than this. So
There's a
yeah,
question on garbage disposal, and I don't think you need a commercial one. I mean, you can get a 1 horsepower for $300. That should be enough, I think. And most
one
of them have got
horsepower.
like, one horse. Yeah, there's a disposal we sell that's 1.25 horse. I have one of those. I've never had a problem with them. I don't think you need to go commercial grade on a garbage disposal. Again, I mean, not knowing how you cook, of course, but
Hmm.
I don't see you need a commercial grade for that.
Yeah, good question. Interestingly enough, in Canada, or at least in my part of Canada, garbage disposal is not a big thing in kitchens.
Hmm.
Very rare. I don't even know anybody who has one.
I love mine.
So just interesting. I don't know why. I used to sell them, but I never ever sold one because no one ever buys them. They're just not a thing. I don't know.
Hmm.
Is the 48-inch Thor model kitchen hood more suction power?
Thor. Hmm. I don't know. I mean, I don't sell Thor, but the way you tell is it, and you'd have, I could probably, if you want to email me separately, I don't sell Thor, but hoods are basically sold 2 ways, either with an integral blower, right? Or you would choose a component blower, either 900, 1200, or 1500 CFM. So we'd have to go to Thor's website. Probably could I do that right now as we look at different stuff? And I could probably see, but or am I going to
Yeah.
disturb the?
No, you go ahead and then if we just bring back the picture of that kitchen, I'll ramble on about it for a minute. There's something in this kitchen called translational symmetry. I like that fancy word.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
if you look at the other picture, it shows there's a hutch there as well. Yeah, so there's this hutch of comparable color, and that actually go back to the previous picture, number two. Yeah, so so this is behind. So you can see the peninsula. You can see the dishwasher in this picture. There's not a panel dishwasher by the looks of that. And so you can see that peninsula where the sink is supposed to be, and then you have this hutch, which is behind. So the one that we're looking at to the left, and this one on the right, they face each other in this space. So very nice use of just using that color elsewhere with that kind of similar hutch idea. And I'm assuming this is like a mesh. Well, it is a mesh, but that's something that we see a little bit more of too these days. This kind of mesh door style here. Yeah, quite nice. Definitely a design style. Now, above the um, cabinet there with the above the little wine station here in the wine fridge, we have glass doors. If you're going to do glass doors, one, you should just put a light in that cabinet. And if you're going to put a light in that cabinet, you should either put a channel light in every shelf or put glass shelving and put a light in the top so that the light can diffuse down through. But again, lighting wasn't on the list for this kitchen. Lots of storage space, lots of counter space. Really nice. Did we rate this one?
I like it from an appliance standpoint. I don't like it in lighting. From an appliances, you can get 5. Um, from a lighting perspective, it's almost non-existent. So I'd give it like a 4.2 because
You went 4.2. Wow. I did a 4-star.
Whoa, what didn't you like about it? By the way,
I,
for that TRH, it looks like it's an 800 CFM.
800.
800.
That's pretty good, I guess. Well,
All
Matt,
right.
not for Matthew. It's underwhelming for Matthew.
Yeah, I think for 48 you need a little bit more than that, depending on
Oh,
what
it's
you cook, right?
48. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I thought I wasn't thinking
Depending on
48.
what
But
you cook.
what do you say? 1300?
Depends what you cook. You get a grill underneath there, you'd probably want to go, 1500, right?
Right. Okay.
If you griddle, create a lot of smoke and grease and everything, you want to go higher. But certainly if you got all the burners working, which you
Yeah.
probably won't, you need a little more than 800, I would think.
Okay. Well, there you go. Email Steve and he'll hook you up with the right one. You ship for free anywhere in the U.S.?
No, we just really
Okay.
hang out pretty much in in the Boston area, Nantucket now, and New Hampshire, Rhode Island. If we can't control the delivery service, we typically don't ship it.
Awesome. Well, you know where to go
Yes,
to
we do.
find one. All right.
I
Jane
could
had a
help.
question before we move on to that next kitchen. Our last kitchen is what's the best flooring for wheelchair users for the whole house? Um, that is a great question. I'm certainly not a flooring expert by any means for what's best for wheelchairs. I don't know, Steve, you have any input on that?
Well, we use the kind of like the fake wood laminate stuff for our showrooms, and seems to wear
Okay.
just fine.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a flooring expert. I mean, I've got hardwood floors in my house, not rugs, but I could certainly hook somebody up with the people that design our showrooms, because I imagine we've had wheelchairs through them all. So
Yeah. Yeah. So probably some kind of plank flooring, like do you think like a laminate or vinyl?
I think it's a vinyl that we have.
Yeah. I would say that's pretty durable overall. But yeah, good question. I certainly I don't know. For me, I for kitchen, just kitchen flooring, I like hardwood personally, even though a
Me
lot of
too.
people don't, but I do like hardwood in a kitchen. Um, but in terms of wear and tear, you got to be careful. But that's just part of the character of it. So,
Mm.
all right, let's move on to our last kitchen. Let's have a look and see this one, the one with lights, the kitchen with lights, a kitchen Steve will like.
This one's got lights, and it's got lights that diffuse and hit up front too. I mean, those aren't my particular style, but the fact that it's got lighting in it, um,
So right off the top, this gets a full star. Even before we start, like it already got a
exactly.
star. So this kitchen's doing good. I like this space, very very nice. But my only issue with it is again just the symmetry on that back wall is a little bit off for me personally. When you look in at a kitchen, the range hood's going to draw your eyes. And I don't mean the symmetry with the island or the pendants. I just mean the cabinets on both sides of that. Very obvious, like that they're different sizes. So I prefer, and it's very personal. 'Cause it just depends on what you like. But having cabinets on both sides of that are equal size, and they could have definitely done this in this
Hmm.
scenario with that length of wall that they have. They could have easily done it. Very beautiful kitchen, however, and nicely done. The other thing here is if you try to line up your range and your sink, at some point there becomes a diminishing returns on what you're getting out of that. It looks like they sort of tried to do that with this kitchen, but it's really not something that's necessary. You could easily move that range over to the right, balance those cabinets a little better, and it wouldn't throw off the look of this kitchen with the sink being offset. In fact, there's an argument there that it would be even more functional because you don't have back-to-back appliances with a sink and dishwasher and then a range. If two people are cooking, they're back-to-back and can be a little bit cumbersome. So that's just my take on it. Nonetheless, it's a beautiful space, but that would have been one thing that I probably would have changed if I was designing that.
Yeah, I would have said, and this is not why I'm here. That last cabinet, putting it the same texture as the other ones, I think it's a little much. It's kind of to me, it's a lot of place, but it's whatever this person wants. Obviously, it's not up to me to say. I will
So
say
you,
the appliances are good.
yeah, what are
These are
these?
these are wolves, right?
Okay.
This is the old Wolf with the it's dual fuel with the flip down controls there. Griddle, thermostatic griddle. Looks like they put the right blower in there. Now on the right, that's their steam oven, I think, because their microwave is the push button, and I love steam ovens. I think steam ovens are great
Okay.
because really you're not baking out something, you're adding moisture, and it's huge. If you ever reheat something, you do it in a microwave, it attacks the moisture and dries it out. That's why it's always looks so lifeless. You're infusing steam into something. You get a much juicier. You get a much, and you could do anything with the brownies, cookies. But I love the steam oven. If you're looking for a different way to cook, that's certainly something to really consider. And it is so easy to use now, simple. So I like that. I like that. Then they have, I imagine, because this is Wolf. What goes with Wolf is Sub-Zero. You have, their integrated columns on the right hand side. They are 36 and um, I'm sorry, 30 and 18 on the other side there. See it left, right.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So that's nice. They do Sub-Zero. I think and Wolf do a really great job at making better appliances. It's family owned. They seem to care a little bit more. But
Okay.
I like from an appliance standpoint, fantastic.
Mm.
And I agree with you to some degree that their island's a little bit off and everything. But if it works for them, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not here to
Well, again, like it comes down to those personal preferences. I do
exactly.
wonder why they didn't take the fridge section here to the ceiling. They left that lower. If you go back to the previous picture, the first picture actually, this set, yeah. So yeah, even that cabinet on the left is, yeah, everything's to the ceiling. So again, I when I see that, I just wonder what was the designer thinking about, like what was their intention for that, and it has to just be that's the look they're going for. I'm not sure.
You know what I'm thinking is it's a good place to put lighting, and then you can light the ceiling up and match that with the light under the cabinets there to provide a much more uniform effect. But I don't think anybody's thinking that from
Mm,
what I've seen in the top 10 photos we've looked at. But
yeah, not a lot of lighting, but at least this one has proper amount, or at least a good attempt at the proper amount of lighting for that kitchen. It's a high ceiling too, so but
I
at
like
least
it.
you can see everything that's happening.
Yeah, I mean they've got it right where they need it. If they get the
Yeah,
lighting right near the sink,
I,
right near the
I
stove, right near the fridge.
I do get concerned when I see cabinets with like doors underneath. Um, you know, I always wonder why, what's in there, what are they using it for? I'm always assuming that there's going to be a pullout or something useful in a cabinet like that. So right
Mhm.
next to that steam oven, um, if we look at the other picture, looking down the length of that, or even there, so there's a drawer bank, and then they have these two narrow, probably spice pullouts, I'm guessing, or tray dividers. That's all good. And then let's look at the next picture. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see that there's a cabinet with a door there. I always wonder. So next to the rain, like to the sink, I'm guessing that's probably garbage pullout. Um, but when you're designing a kitchen, just be intentional about what's going in all these things. And usually, a cabinet with just a shelf in it, these base cabinets would just have a half shelf, and that's usually not that useful for most people unless it's a very intentional, thing that you're going to store in that cabinet. Um, Drawer banks are usually a better play overall. And I'll mention this again, and I don't not that they did it here, but if you're trying to get symmetry between top and bottom cabinets, don't really worry about it. Make the top really the wow factor, and make that the most symmetrical and beautiful. And then make sure the base cabinets are as functional as possible. So no matter what the widths are, they don't need to line up with the top in any way, shape, or form. As long as they're functional, you're going to get a better kitchen usage. What do you rate this kitchen?
Well, from an appliance standpoint, you can't get much better than that. And the fact that they lit it means it's going to be way up on the scale here. I'd say 4.9 because nothing can be perfect.
Whoa.
But um, but I like I mean, the kitchen's not my style. I mean,
Sure.
everyone seems to be going to a tan now, and that's just nothing I particularly
Yeah.
like. But I do like the fact that people are adding different elements in. I mean, you can't get better appliances than those.
Okay.
So what else am I going to rate?
I mean, we got lighting, we got great appliances. I'm going to go with 4.8, just to be, whatever. Very arbitrary. Because I mean, honestly, really, you could give me any of these kitchens. I'm sure I can make it work, even if I had to wear a headlamp.
Well, these are the
So Jane
best.
did
These
have
are
a
the
question. I want to make sure we get to it before we sign off.
sure.
But looking for just the best brand for 48-inch hood. What do you suggest for people out there looking?
There's a lot of good brands out there. Certainly, if you want to pay more for the name brands like Thermador, well, Thermador is kind of they're kind of dated. But really, what you want to look at is you want to look at the specs, right? The specs on a hood should be at least 24 inches deep, 18 inches tall, and then at least for 48, I say 1200 to 1500 CFM. I think the best brand is good. We have our own brand. We don't ship it around the country, which has got better, more updated lighting and baffle filters and all that other stuff. But that's it. And just make sure it's ducted properly, and make sure it's
Hmm.
with 10-inch duct, and make sure it goes straight up or straight back, and then that'll be fine.
Yeah, Matthew says make sure it's installed by someone who knows what they're doing. So that's important as well.
Yeah, installation's so important with everything.
Get it installed correctly. That goes for your kitchen as well. For you DIYers out there who want to tackle it yourself, just that's the one thing you should be splurging on, is an installer who knows what they're doing, because you're paying a lot of
Amen.
money. You're getting the design right. You're buying these beautiful appliances. You don't want to, especially if it's your first kitchen, make sure you get it professionally installed. There's a lot of detailed trim work and finish work that goes into a kitchen to be installed correctly, and we don't give enough credit to those guys and
Yeah,
girls who do that job out there, because it's a real art, not just a skill of installing, but there's a real art to it. So
totally agree.
that's my 2 cents. All right, well, that was awesome. That was our, between
Oh,
this live stream and our last one, our 10 kitchens. Very, very fun to do. So listen, if you're out there and you're watching this, you're watching on replay and you're watching at this point, thanks. Make sure you give this a like and a thumbs up and all the other YouTubey things. But also, if you have any questions on appliances, hit up Yale Appliance, ask Steve, ask the crew there. They're great to get back to you and respond with some like useful information that you can help, that be helpful. Same with me. Just
yeah.
my email is easy to find. You can find me online. If you have questions about kitchen design, by all means, like try to get a hold of us, because we're here to help. That's what we want to do. That's the whole point of having these discussions and having YouTube channels, to help people. Although, even though we get called out for our bromance, it's all good.
Hey, listen, you know what you're doing when it comes to design. It's not, you're not putting flowers next to something and charging a bunch of money. I mean,
Right.
it's really important to get it right the first time. I mean, that's the key to anything, is get it
Yes.
done the first time.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, service, install, delivery, it's critically important when you're buying. All the refrigerators are the same no matter what you buy. So, and I agree. I think you provide a level of expertise you don't see on the internet, and I think it's really important to tap into that, especially if you haven't done it before. So, all
Thank
right,
you.
I
Thank
think
you.
we've done enough damage here.
All right, we're good. Yeah. Listen, everyone, thank you for watching the live stream or the replay, and we're going to do this again at some point. So stay tuned. We'll see you on that one.
All right, thanks, Mark.